Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody is doing good. You have had a good weekend. So today we're going to be going over what, in my opinion, what I consider the most vulnerable congressmen and congresswomen across the U.S. The top five most vulnerable uh, congresspeople, who I think have a great chance of losing re-election or at least are endangered. Um, because of how their maps are drawn or redrawn or just the environment that they're in, the districts, just how they are, what position that they are in. We're going to be going over the top five most vulnerable members of Congress. Before we get into it, though, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out if you enjoy non-biased election content regarding upcoming elections and news stories throughout the United States. Then this is your channel. All right, now let's get into it. Now, as I said, who do I think personally are gonna lose re-election, or not even just lose re-election, but are in danger of losing the re-election? Let's explain how that is gonna work. Now, let me say this isn't an official prediction by any means. Um, this is just a review of certain races that I expect to be very competitive, regardless of the national environment. Now, what do I think is top five? This is Washington's third congressional district, which is right up here. Um, it is currently represented by Mary Gluesenkamp Perez, she is the Democrat congresswoman for this district. Now, why do I think she is vulnerable? Well, few reasons. Um, One, I would say that she represents a district that Donald Trump won by a few points. Despite it being left trending, it is a pretty reliably Republican district down ballot, right? And even statewide, federal elections in Washington state, this district always votes Republican down ballot. It doesn't usually vote Democrat. However, yeah, since 2022 and in 2024, they have elected Mary Gluesenkamp Perez to represent this district um, in southern Washington. Fairly rural. Um, you got some suburban areas that are near exurban areas near Portland, but fairly rural Republican district. However, she's been able to hang on, but that's because she versed a pretty weak candidate in Joe Kent in 2022. This was interesting because they said that she would have a 0% chance of winning, or almost close to that, 1% chance of winning in 2022. But she won because she proved to be a strong candidate, and she was able to win. In 2024, they thought that she would lose because surely it was a fluke. Well, she won by a few points in 2024 when Donald Trump simultaneously won the district at the same time. She won. So she's constantly able to overperform and win as this moderate Democrat in this conservative district. Now it's not super red, but just because of the district and she's constant since she versed a weak candidate two times, um, despite the Democrats being at least somewhat favored going into 2026 because of the party out of power, I still think that Perez is going to have to fight hard for this district. Do I think she'll win? Yes, probably by around 3 or 4 points. However, she could be in danger if she versus a more stronger, more establishment, like well-funded Republican. She could definitely be in danger. And if she doesn't go down this year, let's just say there's a redder environment in the next few years, she could go down. If she gets primaried out, you have a more anti-establishment Democrats running to primary Perez. What they're saying is that if that ends up happening, then this district could flip because they don't have a strong candidate to run to replace her at the top of the ticket. So I am rating this district as leans Democrat, but it's a district to watch out for, and I think that she could be in danger if the stars align. But I think she'll be able to get by um, fairly easy just because of the Democrat national environment. So, what do I have on number four? Well, we're gonna go these are ranked in order about the chances of them flipping. We're gonna go to Michigan's seventh congressional district. This is currently held by Republican Tom Barrett. He won in 2024, flipping this district um, into the Republican column. I think Trump won this district by like 1 point or something. Barrett won by like 3, and he was not the incumbent. He ran against a fairly weak Democrat candidate in 2024, but he still was able to overperform and win purple counties like Eaton County overperformed in some of the other areas. Working class district, some of it's rural, some of it's suburban, some of it's even urban to an extent. It has the capital of Lansing, Michigan, and the surrounding areas, and some high propensity Republican voters in like Livingston County area. Um, Very competitive. It tends to go back and forth. If you look at how it's voted, it's mixed. It goes back and forth. The problem for Barrett is that this district kind of votes the way of the national environment. It did vote for Alyssa Slotkin in 2022, and then she retired. The district flipped to Barrett. That was a result. She um, ran for Senate successfully in 2024. However, again, this district tends to vote by the national level, and if Democrats do really, really well in 2026, which is looking more and more likely that they just do better because the polling and historical events, um, Tom Barrett could be in danger because of the national environment. And if the Democrats are able to keep their statewide elected offices, which is going to be about a 50-50, it's going to be a very competitive state, I think Tom Barrett could be in some trouble if the Democrats find a decent, well-funded opponent. But I still think that I go back and forth about how this election is going to go. The other time I rated this district as tilt Republican, and now I'm just rating it as a leans Democrat. I think he'll probably go down by around 1 point. But I really do think that if Barrett does well and he's able to keep his appeal in this working class purple, roughly 50-50 district, he'll probably be able to win re-election. And the reason why I think he has still a decent chance of winning is because Republicans aren't looking like they'll get blown out of the water in Michigan like they did in 2022. It's going to be very competitive. So I think that if, just say John James, say even if he doesn't get the governor's election, if he's able to lose by no more than like 3 or 4 points, then Tom Barrett could probably have crossover appeal and win split ticket voters and narrowly win re-election. Yeah, it's going to be very competitive. This race is definitely a coin flip for me. I'm just rating it as probably like leans to tilt Democrat just because of the national environment. I think will narrowly go down. But again, it's going to be an interesting race to look at. Definitely one that you should follow when the elections happen. But definitely keep an eye on Michigan's 7th congressional district. Now we will move on to number 2. This is Pennsylvania 7th. This is in eastern Pennsylvania, right here. It is currently represented by Republican incumbent Ryan McKenzie. He was elected in 2024. He's another strong incumbent. He was elected in 2024 by around a point, only by like 4,000 votes. He took out Susan Wild, who at the time she was the Democrat rep for the district. It's hard to say how she was as an incumbent. She seemed to be reasonably strong. But McKenzie was able to get the job done for the Republicans. He was able to win and flip this district red. In my opinion, this is the most competitive district in Pennsylvania in the 2026 midterms. And it was in 2024, and I think it'll stay that way. You got Lehigh County, Northampton County, Carbon County, and a little bit of Monroe County. So basically, you have the red areas up north in the Poconos, and then you have part of Lehigh Valley is purple, and then you have Allentown, which is Democrat. So it's got a mix of everything, a mix of different races. So I think different ethnicities. So it's kind of all blends together and makes a pretty evenly split district. Again, it kind of goes the way of the national environment. If Josh Shapiro ends up winning this district by a lot, which again is possible, because he is a electable Democrat. If he ends up winning this district by a lot, McKenzie won't be able to hold on. Again, if the Democrat environment is big enough, then it probably won't. It won't be, as you say, like possible for him to hold on, right? It's going to be close. Obviously, I think that he's probably just going to go down very narrowly. It's hard to say like by what margin. Probably by around a point or two. Maybe even tilt Democrat, but we'll have to see how this ends up going. But this district is definitely in play for both sides, and I think a lot of money will be spent here. Excuse me. So that is how I see things playing out. Now, we'll move on to the next district. We'll move on to Texas's 34th district right here. This is pretty heavily Latino or Hispanic district. It's represented by Vicente Gonzalez, who is the Democrat representative. He won here in 2024 when Donald Trump won this district. It's now been redistricted. Now it's Trump plus 10. However, I still think that Gonzalez has a path to winning. I think he just narrowly holds on. However, I really do think that Republicans could take him out. This is, if you want to talk about coin flip, this is definitely a race. I do think he just narrowly wins just because reversion. You have seen Latino voters revert back to the Democrats. They did pretty good for Republicans in 2024, but it's possible that he kind of goes down or stays, depending. I think he's in a worse position than Henry Cuellar in a nearby district. I think Gonzalez is definitely going to have to fight it out, but I think he'll probably end up winning. But he's vulnerable because it is a pretty solidly Republican district, and they're running a stronger candidate this time. And I think that it's hotly contested, right? I think Republicans redrew the map in Texas with this 34th district flipping in mind. It really depends on reversion, right? If this was in like a say presidential year or better environment, I'd say Gonzalez goes down. However, there's still a chance he holds on because the Democrat national environment, it's looking like he definitely has a chance. But I definitely can see this district staying in Democrat hands. But Vicente Gonzalez is definitely vulnerable. If you look at this map shows about how each election in 2024 went. As you can see, you had Perez definitely win by like 5 points, Barrett won by 3, McKenzie won by 1, and Gonzalez won by 2. So these are all races that are competitive and that all have a chance of flipping. And now this leads me to number 1. Which seat do I think is going to flip? Has the best chance? And I would say Iowa's first congressional district. Now, why do I say that? Trump won this district by 8 points. Now, there's a lot of competitive districts. I can't always fit them in, but I think this is going to be very competitive because this is one of the last 3 races to be called in 2024. Because this race was so close, it was tilt. Marionette Miller Meeks is not that strong of an incumbent. She won by 6 votes in 2020, and she barely won by the skin of her teeth in 2024. And her race was still narrow in 2022. So she always just manages to hang on, but I think that in a blue environment, with a weak incumbent, I think that Meeks goes down once and for all. I still think she can hold on if the outcome permits it. I think she can. It's still a red district. However, I think that Meeks will probably go down. It's hard to say. Again, these are all very competitive districts. They all can go either way. However, I think she's going to narrowly go down because she underperformed the top of the ticket because just wasn't that strong of an incumbent. And weaker incumbents typically lose re-election the second time. And I think it's going to be a rematch between the two. Christina Bonahan is her name. So, yeah. But that's basically what I have to say about Iowa 1. I just think it's going to probably flip. Meeks is not in a great position. But, yeah, it's basically what I think. But, feel free to continue to watch this channel. We'll keep on posting. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, please like and subscribe if you like unbiased election content. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.